we just play this one and then get your reaction?
When I got onto the stage, I met this very spirited fellow who claimed to be Mitt Romney. But it couldn't have been Mitt Romney, because the real Mitt Romney has been running around the country for the last year promising $5 trillion in tax cuts that favor the wealthy. The fellow on stage last night said he didn't know anything about that.
Stephanie, let me ask you about that, because here at CNN, we fact-checked that $5 trillion in tax cuts, and we've come and said that that's not true. Mitt Romney's not promised that, because he's going to also be closing loopholes and deductions. So his tax cut wouldn't be anywhere near that size.
So you're disputing the size of the tax cut? Are you disputing also how he's going to pay for it?
Well, we're disputing the size because he is going to be, well, he's going to be
campaign, Aaron. He's campaigned on lowering tax rates by 20% for everybody, including those in the top 1%. That was one of the main selling points in the Republican primary.
Right, so you're saying if you lower them by 20%, you get a $5 trillion tab, right?
It's a $5 trillion tab.
But then when you close deductions, it's not going to be anywhere near $5 trillion. That's our analysis.
Well, okay, stipulated. It won't be near $5 trillion, but it's also not going to be the sum of $5 trillion in the loopholes that he's going to close. So it is going to cost someone, and it's going to cost the middle class. Independent economists have taken a look at this. There aren't enough deductions for those at the top to account for the number of tax cuts that they'd get because of Mitt Romney's policies, so you have to raise taxes on the middle class.
Well, they will say, of course,
it's just simple math.
Okay, they'll say, though, that you can do that. There are other studies. I know the one to which you're referring, but there's also the possibility of economic growth.
Aaron, prove it.
Well, you can't prove either side is all I'm saying, but the one thing that I can say is not true is the $5 trillion tax cut.
I disagree with you. You can prove it. So then they should just say that they're counting entirely on economic growth to pay for a tax cut, which is an interesting theory because that's what George Bush did. And let's look at how that turned out.
They're not saying entirely. They're saying closing loopholes and economic growth, both. I mean, I understand you disagree with it. I'm just making the point of what you're saying.
But that still leaves you at least $1 trillion short. That's all I'm saying. The math does not work with what they're saying, and they won't name those deductions. Not a single deduction that they will close because they know it's bad for their politics. Now, look, at the end of the day, this is the center. This is the core of Mitt Romney's economic policy. Last night, he walked away from it and said he didn't have a $5 trillion tax cut. He does. That's what lowering the rates amounts to.
Okay, well,
so, you know,
I know
the only reason he walked away from it is he doesn't want to say how he's going to pay for it.
But okay, all right. I think both of us have made our point on this. I want to ask